Coffee? I'm not signed in.
Welcome and Happy New Year. It's good to have you all with us today. This night's meeting marks the very first meeting for this year. Today's date is January the 12th, 2021, and we are meeting in the Aquilina Howell Center at 3955 West Pensacola Street. We're glad to have you with us again. Our opening item calls for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Marcy Hartman of Lawton Childs High School. Ms. Hartman, would you approach the podium?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Yeah, be seated. Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Let me tell you, I think, a few things about her. She is a student, a ninth grader actually, at Lawton Childs High School. She is accompanied by her parents, Roger and Kristen Hartman. Would you wave, please? Thank you. Her academic activities include all A's honor roll student. She is that every semester since prior to entering Montfort Middle School. She has a weighted GPA of 4.2 and an unweighted of 4.0. Oh my goodness, her extracurricular activities are many. She is a member of the junior varsity volleyball team, the varsity basketball team, the Timberwolves United Club. She's a member of the SGA. She is manager of the varsity football, water girls, and student volunteers, and a former member of the Montfort Middle School boys football team, a long snapper, district champion, fall of 2018. It goes on, and just listen to her honors, please. She has earned the Lifetime Responsibility Honor and rank of Eagle Scout, December 2020. She is a First Scout BSA female Eagle Scout in the Swanee River Area Council, which includes 13 counties. She is a member of the National Scouts BSA inaugural class of the first female Eagle Scouts. There is still more about this outstanding ninth
There's so
grader.
much more, Madam Chair. Actually, we are
goodness.
going to officially recognize Macy. I have our principal here tonight.
Oh, is
and I'm
that
going to
right?
let him go on a little bit more about our special guest. Why don't you come up? Can we do that now? Is that?
Well, if that's what you choose to do, Mrs. Superintendent, we
Right.
just wanted to. Yes, let's go.
Yeah,
ahead. Let's go ahead then.
let's have the Macy show. All right,
Okay.
Principal Burgess.
All right then. We don't want to.
So you have here Macy Hartman today, and she's here with her family. And first, let me just speak about them as a family. They volunteer to help clean up the service roads near our school. They volunteer at our school, for any kind of events that we need. Mrs. Hartman is actually an instructional aide on our campus, but she's Coach Hartman to me because she also coaches. And, of course, their kids, Major and Macy, both are scholar athletes. And I say scholar first because they believe in their academics and their athletes. But Macy and you guys, if you haven't looked at the Tallahassee Democrat, is a trailblazer. My father is an Eagle Scout, and this is a momentous accomplishment. Really it is. And, of course, those accolades you're reading off, it's all about service. And that's what kind of family they are. They believe in service, and they want to know the mission and help accomplish the mission. And I am very proud of her. She is, very humble, but, we want to recognize her because you're doing something that you're talking to other young ladies about, things that they can aspire to. And it is just great all around, and only a freshman. Yeah. And so she wants to build off of that. She's got plans, and her brother does too. And I know they got probably good competitive rivalry there, but it is without a doubt. I'm proud and honored to have Macy come up here, and we asked her if she'd say a few words. So Macy, come on up. Macy.
Thank you. It is an honor. being one of the first female Eagle Scouts in America, really, and to represent all females that can join Scouting BSA, and to represent Childs and Leon County and just be involved. So thank you so much for having me, and
We're so
thank
proud.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
We are
much.
so proud of you. This is so outstanding. Yeah.
So I have a medallion of excellence. Like you probably have a
Okay.
closet full of these, but I'd like to present you this medallion, Mason, of excellence. And congratulations. We are so very proud of you and all that you've accomplished and all that you will accomplish in the future. Both to you and your brother Major. I'm sure there's some sibling rivalry, and competition, and to your parents. What a proud moment. Thank you for sharing the gifts of your children with our school system. All right? Congratulations.
Okay.
All right, you want to go outside? I'll meet you for a picture.
Okay. Thank you, Macy, and parents, for the outstanding service to the community. We appreciate all you do. And now we're ready for the thought for the day by Arsha Harris. She is the Leon County School Board member. Ms. Harris.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. My thought of today is by the 14th Dalai Lama. As human beings, all 7 billion of us are born the same way and die the same way. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, we are the same. We all want to live a happy life and avoid problems, but in a materialistic culture, we overlook the importance of love and affection. During these unprecedented times, we have become so internally stressed and ignored the importance of love and affection that we are supposed to give each other on a daily basis. At the end of the day, we're all human, and we should always treat each other like so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. We appreciate that. It's good to see you, as a matter of fact. And now, the changes and additions. Mr. Jones, would you read them, please?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
first, item 7.04, approval of personnel actions, January 12, 2021, replace documentation. 2, item 19.06, the superintendent recommends approval to nominate school board member Alva Striplin as a representative to the Children's Services Council of Leon County for a term of 1 year beginning with the first meeting of the CSC. This item was added per the superintendent.
You have heard the changes and additions. Is there a motion to receive them?
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved in second that the changes and additions will be received. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposes, the same. It is unanimous. May I say quickly that Ms. Rasmussen, Board Member Rasmussen, is ill and will not be with us tonight. We wish her a speedy recovery. The superintendent is back now, and the superintendent spotlight is...
I'm back, and we have another special guest with us tonight from
Yes.
James S. Rickards High School.
Yes.
All right.
Home of the Raiders, formerly the Redskins. I'd like to bring the proud principal of James S. Rickards High School, Mr. Douglas Cook, up to the podium for a special announcement.
Thank you, Superintendent Hanner. To our school board members, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Today we are here to celebrate the 5A state runner-up champions for football this year, the James S. Rickards High School Raiders. Coach Lewis, our wonderful coach, and AD Farmer is here. I'm going to ask them to come forward now. I just want to say a few things about Coach Lewis. I think many, many years ago when I used to take him home, he used to hang out with my basketball players. He was always a respectful and fine young man. When I look at COVID-19, he did not have one positive case for his varsity football team this year. He was diligent in making sure that he followed the protocol by the superintendent and the school board members. That must be commended because he did a wonderful job going from September the 11th all the way through the final game on December the 17th. So with that being said, I want to turn it over to Coach Lewis, let him speak about the team and the accomplishment. But they've been playing football since 1966 at James S. Ricketts High School, and the first time they've ever been in the state finals and had an opportunity to be state champs. Coach Lewis.
All right.
All right, I want to thank everybody for having me here. I'm not a man of a lot of words. I'm a man of action more than anything, and so I just want to say thank you. All these honors go to all these young men that play football for us. That does a great job of going to school and spending some extracurricular activity time with me after school. And so it's about that. It's not about what I did actually at all. It's about just making sure these young men have an avenue to express themselves if it's football or anything else that they want to do. And so that's really the true blessing of the whole thing, is seeing these young men be successful and have fun doing it, and just giving them something to an outlet for anything else that might happen down the road. And then the guys I coach are not always the most privileged, but they are guys that work the hardest, I think, more than anything else. And so I ask go off to those guys only. Yeah.
Thank you.
Coach, I can't tell you. First, I have to say I'm envious of you. You remind me a lot of me 20 years ago. I know Principal Cook. We all came up through the ranks. Probably the greatest thing that people can call me still today is Coach. And I watched those kids on your senior day. Man, you're special. And I can't thank you enough for the impact. And I'm telling you, I was jealous. I wish I could go back to those days of coaching and having that impact. And we're just so thankful and grateful to have one of our own return home. That makes it even more special. I know it was for me to be able to coach and teach and be the principal of my alma mater, and for you to be there and to help these young men do that, become young men, is probably the most important thing you can teach them. And just so thankful and proud of all that you've accomplished, and can't wait. We're runner up this year, and now I have to tell you, they played against a private school, okay, whose tuition's about $30,000. Now, if you saw some of the names on their roster, some of their daddies played in the NFL, played at the University of Miami, right? We recognize played for the Miami Dolphins. So I'm gonna say the odds were stacked against him, because he plays the kids from the neighborhood that come to school. Those kids that go to that school come from all over the country. And so, Coach, I'm just so proud of what you've done for Raider Nation and the way you've represented Leon County. And congratulations on a wonderful season.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Jones.
if I may echo the sentiments of our superintendent and talk about how very, very proud I am of the flagship high school in Leon County Schools, the James S. Ricketts High School, in the heart of District 3. What I think is most important is that you and your team, Principal Cook and Coach and Ms. Farmer, is how you model finer manhood and womanhood for our young people. And it is by no means an accident that we are the home of champions at James S. Ricketts High School. And I salute you all and thank you for all the great work that you do, and know that I remain forever in your corner. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do have one question for all of you, and you don't have to answer now, but are we sure about the blue turf?
100% positive.
All right, then it's a go. Congratulations, guys. God bless you. Thank you.
Just before you leave, may I offer from the board our congratulations as well, and thank you for your example of being the kind of man that would lead these young men to where this championship is right now. And Principal Cook, you certainly would not be left out. And I would love to hear the voice of Coach Claudette Farmer. If she would step to the microphone, we certainly cannot end this meeting without hearing from the female athletic director.
Thank you so much. Superintendent Hannah, to the board, it is certainly a privilege to be back at Ricketts High School as an alum, and to be serving in the capacity of athletic director, and to have a young man who's worked very hard and diligently to make me look really good.
Yeah. Need to
We
be
had,
said.
two championship teams that competed in the state for state title. And that is awesome. And especially during the pandemic years, Mr. Cook has pointed out. Coach Lewis works really hard. I don't think he go home. His truck's always at the school. You know, he's a hard worker. You know, when I came in, he was struggling to pull things together. But he's gotten it together, his diligence, and he's got some outstanding assistant coaches and an outstanding administrative assistant. I told him the one thing that he has done that has made a tremendous difference was he came in, he and his coaches, and they brought pride into that program with that locker room that they assembled.
Wonderful.
And those kids, I thought, bought into that program, and it's a place of pride, and he told me how they keep it up. That in itself has changed things, and those are the kind of things that I want to see happen at Rickers High School. And we've always, although we've been in disadvantaged positions, we've always excelled, and we will continue to do so. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Coach Flummer.
She brought up that locker room, and that was a labor of love by Coach Lewis and his family. I mean, they didn't ask for a single penny from the school district. He did that all on his own, because it was a place of pride for his student athletes. And
Wonderful.
and that's when I realized, when I went about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Claudette, you asked me to come look at the locker room, and I could tell then that he was a special man.
Wonderful.
And you've done a great job, Principal Cook, of hiring someone that will continue the legacy of Rickers High School for years to come.
But I want to make sure that I give Dr. Gale your very own credit, because she is the one who hired Coach Lewis prior to me arriving. He never won a game, you know, while Dr. Gale was principal. Regular season game, he won them all under me. But you got to give Dr. Gale credit for talent. She recognized this young man. She hired him prior to me. They had multiple losing seasons, and Coach Lewis has come in, and he's resurrected that program. He's built the program, and I think it's going to stay at one of the top programs in the Big Bend. So he was Big Bend Coach of the Year and 5A Coach of the Year. There's a lot of schools in 5A, so he did a wonderful job. But thanks, Superintendent, for recognizing that. And I went in that locker room recently. It is clean.
Wonderful.
Madam Chair, can I say
Yes, Ms. Woods.
School Board Member Jones and I argue a lot over who represents Rickards. We share Rickards.
Oh!
I just always like to bring that out because many of my
Good for
constituents
you.
also go to Rickards, even though I think the footprint might be in your district. I will concede that. But I just want you to know, as your school board member, we're all your school board members actually, that we're so proud of everything you're doing at Rickards. And this is just emblematic of the effort and the excellence that you put into things. And also I will add, this is a great night to recognize women who have come to the front. We have Claudette Farmer, who is the first woman athletic director in the
right.
district. We have the first young woman Eagle Scout.
Yes.
We
tonight.
have our assistant superintendent who hired the coach. So I just want to recognize all the women accomplishments, as well as your young men and the football coach and your fabulous principal.
You were absolutely right, Ms. Woods, and you just looked at my notes, and I was just going to say, that's just what women do. What can I say? Thank each of you. Thank you all for the outstanding jobs. Appreciate you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Jones.
before we move to persons to be heard, I wanted to provide explanation this
Bless you.
evening. Tonight, rather than in my ordinary attire, I am wearing my Oak Ridge Elementary School windbreaker. This windbreaker was a gift to me from the Oak Ridge Elementary School, because I was unaware that it is School Board Appreciation Month.
As am I.
And Oak Ridge Elementary acknowledged me with this kind gift.
Oh, nice.
And so I wanted to wear it tonight to tell them thank you for acknowledging me for School Board Appreciation Month. I also received a very special gift from the good people at the Pineview Elementary School. And Principal Carmen Connor gifted me with this beautiful charcuterie box. And I thought it was so beautiful that she would acknowledge me with this charcuterie box for School Board Appreciation Month, that I thought that I would return the favor and do the same thing for my colleagues. Come on, Alexis. So from me
Oh, wow.
to each one of you,
Sign back in.
Beautiful.
Now that I have that's right.
Oh, this is so nice. This is very sweet.
Me too.
Thank you.
Wow.
How thoughtful, Mr. Jones. And
now
yeah.
as you know, I believe in supporting minority and women-owned businesses.
Yes.
And I'm delighted to introduce to you all Miss Alexis Connor. Alexis Connor has started her brand new business called Alexis's
Boards by Alexis.
Boards by Alexis.
Boards.
Beautiful.
And I wanted to share these charcuterie boards with you all to show my appreciation for you all as my colleagues during School Board Appreciation Month. As the new kid on the block, y'all have been most supportive of me and have indulged me in my every desire and whim, to include even taking school board meetings on the road. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate your support of me and the things that matter to me and to the people in District 3. And I wanted to acknowledge you, and I wanted to acknowledge this newpreneur, Alexis Connor, with Boards by Alexis, by sharing these wonderful charcuterie boards with you, and to let you know as school board members, you are indeed appreciated by me. So thank you very much.
Mr. Jones, thank you for
Thank you, Daryl.
the wonderful treats in here and for introducing me to a new word, charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
And I'm certain I'm the only one in Leon County who had no idea what charcuterie meant, or at least I'm woman enough to admit it.
Days in a row, I've got 2 new words.
It's the new in thing.
It's a
charcuterie
new
board.
in thing.
Okay,
Alexis,
thank you.
so very much.
Thank
Y'all can
you.
find Alexis on Facebook. But as you can tell, those boxes are beautiful. And I want
Yes.
to thank
Oh.
again Dr. Jasmine Smith at Oak Ridge Elementary and Miss Carmen Connor at Pineview for making me aware of School Board Appreciation Month, and that I might share the same appreciation with my colleagues. Thank y'all for being such great colleagues on the school board. And to those persons who also assist, who are part of the school board as well, Opal McKinney-Williams, our superintendent, and Dr. Gale.
All right.
Thank you. See, I told you it was going to take but a second.
Mr.
Alva.
Jones is so kind to present this to us, and so thankful that we'll have now desserts for 3 weeks at least. All right, moving along into our agenda again. I think we've already done our recognitions, number 4 on the agenda. We're now at persons to be heard.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Williams?
There were 22 emails sent to the persons to be heard at leonschools.net email address. They've been attached to this agenda, and they were emailed to you all previously. In addition, we have one person in the room that is here to speak, Mr. Scott Mazer.
Okay.
If you would please come up and give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Scott Mazer, 3319 Dartmoor Drive, Tallahassee, Florida. Why we are here is not as important as what we do while we are here. For it is not our intent that creates change, but our actions and deeds. Collectively, we have faced the challenges that have been thrust upon us, and we continue to address not only concerns, but a vision of what we want for our students to ensure the public schools that they deserve. We have seen many of you at the Capitol speaking truth to power regarding the needs of public schools in the past. I call upon you, and not just you, but all Leon County school employees, families, and our community supporters of public education to engage in the legislative process this year. As LCTA shared during the District Advisory Council meeting, we're interested in not receiving just updates from the Capitol, but working collaboratively to ensure the needs of our students, our schools, and all Leon County school employees are addressed. So we look forward to seeing you down there during session. As we reside in the shadow of the Capitol, we have a paramount duty to the children of the state to speak with one voice on the issues impacting us all. Issues impacting our employees and community, such as high-stakes testing, healthcare increases, COVID-19, recruiting and retaining the best staff, a significant increase in the investment in public schools to help provide equity for all students regardless of their zip code, and more. Therefore, LCTA looks forward to working with you, Dr. Gale, and the District Advisory Council in ways that we, the capital city, can ensure the voices of parents and educators alike are heard for the betterment of our public schools. I want to say thank you to the superintendent, because there are other things that we have been discussing that we're not going to address here, but we've been dealing with in committee and meetings, and for our members, they've been receiving updates on those. So we appreciate the efforts and look forward to working with the Leon County School Board, and thank you for what you do as well. I do not have a charcuterie board for you. I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the only?
That's it, Madam.
All right, thank you. We're now at the reports to be heard from the District Advisory Council. None. Student District Advisory Council. I think that is a report expected from Blaine. She's not on just yet? Okay. There's no report from the Title I Advisory Council, except from Student Learning. Let's move on to where there will be a report given. Mr. Superintendent is there with some words.
I am, Madam Chair. So item 6.07, a very brief report on graduation rates. The state of Florida released graduation rates last year for all school districts, all 67 school districts throughout the state of Florida. I wanted to share that exciting news with you. On the screen, you can see, dating back to 2016, 2017, how Leon County Schools has fared in graduation rates. We were a little over 88% in 2016-17, then went up to 93% and broke a district record in 17-18, dropped 0.6, 0.6 of a percentage point in 18-19. And then this year, our graduation rate increased to over 94%, 94.4%. Let me put a caveat in there. As you well know, the state of Florida waived end-of-course exams and for testing graduation requirements. Denver, put that back up real quick again. So that number, although it's something to certainly celebrate, may not be quite that high next year, because we have by all accounts, we intend that they will hold seniors accountable for those end-of-year tests in algebra and 10th grade FSA. But one thing that I need to point out is we ranked number 5 in the state. We have been ranked out of the 67 districts in the state of Florida. Leon County Schools has been number 5 for the last several years, and number 2 in the state of like-sized districts for the last 3 years. And we are playing by the exact same rules, that held to the exact same standards as the other 66 districts in the state of Florida. I know we've had lots of conversations about COVID and about everything related to COVID, but this is something that's certainly worth celebrating. I will say that from time I will hear naysayers talk about the true graduation rate and the real graduation rate. Now, there is an exception in state board rule that students can graduate early with 18 credits, and some of our students take it full advantage of that and graduate in 3 years. But that's allowed for and accepted for, and those students are then in turn considered graduates. But it's not like any other district in the state of Florida. So I just wanted you all to know, have some very exciting news with graduation rates. We exceeded 94%, which is again another record for Leon County Schools, and number 5 in the state, number 2 in the state for like-sized districts. So as you are meeting with your constituents, and we talk a lot about COVID and everything related to COVID, oh, by the way, did you know Leon County Schools is once again ranked number 5 in the state?
I think we can applaud for that.
And now, as my board member Jones, you may applaud. All right, so the next item, back to COVID. Are we at 6.08?
Well, we were going to go back to 6.06, Mr. Superintendent.
Oh, that's fine. Do we have a student on the
Ms.
We
Janice.
should have Ms. Janice Seawitz here to provide us with the legislative update.
Oh, I jumped right over. I was so
You
excited,
did.
Madam Chair.
You
I
were-
apologize. I
you
was so
were.
excited about our graduation rates that I
And so
jumped
you
right over
should
the
have
legislative updates.
And so you should have been, but let's allow her if you would.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's good to see you, Jessica. Please talk to
Hi,
us.
good to be with you all. Thank you for having me here virtually. Good to see everyone virtually, and I can't wait until we're all back together someday in person. I'm going to share my screen quickly, if that's all right, so that you guys can see what I am sharing with you as I run through. All right. Okay. Are you all able to see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, thank you. Good evening. So I just wanted to provide a brief legislative update for you all, and the timing is actually quite good as we began committees this week here in anticipation of the 2021 session. So just to give you a little background before I start on some of the policy that we expect will be tackled this year. We, of course, had elections in November, and there was not any real substantive change to leadership in the House or the Senate. The Republicans who were already in power did increase their numbers. They increased their Senate seats by 1, and then they added a number of seats in the House. But the power remains the same as they were at the majority party before the election anyhow. The only difference that it may make there is in the Senate, and the reason for that being is that the constitutional amendments that we see from time to time on the ballot on election years can be placed there in a number of ways. Folks can gather enough signatures to have it put on the ballot, or if there's enough of a majority in the Senate, they can add it legislatively. So legislators can add different topics to the ballot. They did not have the numbers in the last 2 years, but now with the addition of the seat that they gained this year, they do have that ability. So that's the only real change that we'll see there with these increased majorities. We, of course, changed leadership as we do every 2 years, and our House leadership is now run by the House Speaker, Chris Sprowls, who is out of Pinellas County. You can see his leadership team there. Most important to us, of course, would be the House Education Committee Chair. That is Chris Latvella. Representative Latvella has been on education committees for a number of years. We've worked with him. He is very close with the Speaker, as they both represent the same area of the state. And he will be leading our policy committee, and I'll talk a little more about that in just a moment. Senate leadership also changed. Our new Senate president is Senate President Wilton Simpson. He is from Central Florida, Pasco County area. He is a egg farmer by trade. You can see his leadership team there, as well as the minority party leadership as well. And they will be the ones guiding us for the next 2 years. The Senate Rules Chair that you see there, Senator Kathleen Passidomo, is slated to be the Senate President in 2 years, assuming that the Republicans maintain the majority. So our policy committees. First, in the Senate, we don't typically see a real change in the structure there. They usually have an education committee and then an education budget committee. Not a lot of subs and all those things that we see in the House. So it is looking like it normally does. We have our policy committee. Our chair is going to be Senator Gruters. He is someone who has not served on many education-related committees. He's worked in other areas in the past, so this will be new working with him. But the vice chair, Senator Jones, he is actually coming from the House, where he was on many education committees. And in fact, he is a former teacher himself, educator. So he is someone we have worked with. Those are going to be the folks leading the Ed Policy Committee. And then our Budget Committee is going to be run by Senator Broxton, who is from just west of us in the Escambia, Okaloosa area. He has served on the committee in the past, where we've worked with him a great deal. And then his vice chair, Senator Diaz, who, for those of you who follow the legislative process, closely, that name will sound very familiar. He has served as our policy chair. He was also on many House education committees when he was serving as a representative. So the House has decided to rename their committee, and it gives us an idea of what their focus will be for the next 2 years. Our policy committee has been renamed the Education and Employment Committee. So it shows that they're really trying to make a connection there between education and then future employment. As I mentioned, our chair is Rep. Latvala, and our vice chair is Representative McLean. Our budget committee, which is focused solely on K-12 budget issues, the higher ed will be in another committee. Our chair is Representative Fine, and our vice chair is Representative Bell. Our subcommittees are different. So last year, we only had one subcommittee in the education space, the K-12 education space. And this year, we have 3 subcommittees, but they span from VPK all the way to higher education. What they have done, what the speaker has chosen to do, is to group these committees by ages of students and time periods of time in their education. So our first committee is Early Learning and Elementary Education Subcommittee. So the VPK issues and any elementary ed issues will be dealt with in that subcommittee. The second is Secondary Education and Career Development. So that will be everything from middle school, high school, and then any of your kind of career tech type programs. And then our final committee is Post-Secondary and Lifelong Learning. That will be the committee that is focused on higher education. For the Early Learning Committee, our chair is Rep. Lupus. He is one who worked very hard on an early learning bill last year. It did not ultimately pass in the Senate, but it made it all the way through the House. So these early learning issues have been something that he has championed for a long time, so it was a natural fit for him to be the chair of this committee. And Rep. McLean will be leading our Secondary Ed Committee. I won't spend too much time on this because you are already living it and implementing it, but as you all are aware, the commissioner did come out with another executive order that will carry us through the spring semester. Essentially, everything stayed the same as the way we were operating in the fall, with the exception of now there's a requirement that districts contact parents of students who are not thriving in the virtual model and tell them that they need to return to the brick and mortar. The parent can still opt out. That is an option. So if they say, no, I still don't feel comfortable having my student in the brick and mortar, I want them to remain in the virtual instruction, they can do that. But the notification will be there so that they will at least be aware and acknowledge that their student is falling behind. We were all quite grateful for the funding stability that this executive order provided, and that we are carrying through now this entire school year and able to service the kids in whatever environment their parents choose to have them in. Now we'll turn to the legislative session. So obviously, first and foremost on everyone's mind is the budget. And I sent some reports earlier last week as we are following and continuing to follow the revenue projections. That is how we get a sense of what money is available to be used. When they built the budget in March of last year, it was obviously pre-pandemic, they built it on the projections that the economy was going to essentially keep humming along as it was. Obviously, no one could have predicted the pandemic. The good news is we have seen in the fall and beginning really in September, the revenues have started doing have been higher than what they initially thought. So when the pandemic hit, the folks that come together to determine what they see as the projections for each month went back and revised dramatically their projections, given that we had this emergency situation, and they anticipated major losses. We have seen since about September, the losses have not been nearly as dramatic as they thought, which is good news. So that means our budget hole for this year is significantly less. And they are able to, with the use of any of our fund balances that they have where they put things in reserves, we should be able to make it through this fiscal year. But of course, starting in March when session begins, they will start building the 2021-2022 budget. And we expect, as we continue to deal with the pandemic, that there will be less revenue than perhaps we would have initially thought we would have had looking back, this time last year. So we know that there's a chance that there may be cuts to various programs and areas of the budget. There are a couple of things that may help with that. One being any federal funds. We've kind of gone back and forth throughout the fall about whether or not there was going to be a stimulus and what education was going to get. Of course, they did ultimately pass another stimulus where there will be some money coming to education. There may be another package that would impact school districts and could also impact state revenue. So if they are able to use those federal dollars to help plug budget holes or to use for next year's budget, that would mitigate perhaps any cuts that would have to happen. But I certainly wanted to mention it because it is likely that there are going to be adjustments made, since of course we are living in very different times than we maybe would have guessed last year. There are a couple of topics that we anticipate being taken up by the legislature. Of course, as I mentioned, the budget, but two things I wanted to mention specifically related to the budget. One, instructional materials funds. We are transitioning to the BEST standards. And in fact, a reading purchase for the reading materials will be made this year. Next year, it will be the math materials. Those are both very expensive purchases. The standards have changed for all of our grades. So essentially there needs to be a K-12 purchase. And of course we know really since the recession many years ago, we have not gotten our categorical funds like instructional materials or transportation. Many of those have not gotten to where they were pre-recession, let alone accounted for any of the adjustments that we've had in cost of living and the additional students that we serve. So we know that there's a need there. And the governor's office has also been involved with this because obviously the change to the standard was something they wanted to see, and they would like to see materials in the classrooms that align with those standards. So we expect them to take up that issue. Another issue that is very important to the district, and this is something we worked on last year, is the district cost differential, which is part of our FEFP calculation. There was an effort last year that would have changed this particular area of the budget, and it would have had a very negative impact on a number of districts, Leon County being one of them. In fact, Leon County was the district that would actually have been hurt the most. You would have lost the most money in the original House proposal. We were able to work very closely with everyone at the district, gathered information, gathered our coalition together, and working with other districts as well that would have been negatively impacted, and we were able to defeat that last year, which was a positive thing. But of course, we are going to always keep our eyes on that because we know not all bad ideas, when they're killed, die forever. Sometimes they are resurrected the next year. So we are going to look out for that as we start the policy and budget discussion. Of course, much like you all, where so much of what you've had to focus on in the last 10 months or so has been in response to the pandemic, we expect that to be very much the same when it comes to the legislature and what they are working on. But in the education world, as well as all the other areas of policy that were impacted by the pandemic. For us in education, there has been a discussion amongst all of our education associations as well as other stakeholder groups about accountability and assessment. There seems to be universal agreement amongst members of the legislature that we should absolutely have an assessment this year. Of course, we did not have assessments last year. And their feeling is we need to know where these students are and have data on our students. The question that they seem to be open to, and this actually came up in committee today, is whether or not all of the accountability measures that are associated with our assessments will go through this year. So school grades, the teacher evaluation using VAM, that sort of thing. Will those all be in place? Because of course, as I mentioned before, we did not have assessments last year. So if you are looking at growth for a student, you will actually be comparing not 2 consecutive school years, but their scores from 2 years ago. The impact of that, if you're thinking about, for example, school grades in an elementary situation, that would mean that it's this year's 5th graders, their scores from their 3rd grade year would determine all of the growth for that school and be the accountability measure. Because of course the other students, the younger students, won't have data from tests from 2 years ago. So we know that this is a very serious issue. As I mentioned, it was discussed very briefly in the Senate committee today. They did say that they will be talking about it in the coming weeks and meetings, and we have been meeting with folks to have those discussions as well. We expect them to tackle that issue. It is not necessarily something the legislature has to do. This could be done on the department side, given we still are in a state of emergency and there are some powers that the commissioner would have. But they clearly are hearing from constituents and are going to discuss the issue as well. Additionally, we have seen a desire, particularly from the First Lady of Florida, that we look at mental health issues, and we know that the pandemic has exacerbated many challenging situations for our students. She has asked that we look to increase these programs. We, of course, have a mental health allocation that we've had the last couple of years, but we certainly look at further focus on that during this legislative session. Additionally, we have some of the items that we have seen in years past that maybe have not made it all the way to the finish line. They are looking to grow career and tech programs. The early learning and pre-K bill that we saw the last couple of years that has not passed, we expect to see that back. They are looking to try to strengthen those early learning programs and pre-K programs to ensure a little bit more of a consistent way of educating, particularly in VPK, because a lot of these programs, of course, are private, so you have a lot of variances to the quality. So they've been looking at that. We've seen voucher expansion consistently over the last couple of years. They were talking about those voucher programs today in committee. The way they have expanded them primarily has been increasing what the family income can be in order to qualify. So as they, of course, increase that family income, or they have over time, more and more students qualify. So that's something we could certainly, I'm sure that they will be discussing, as we've seen that consistently. We are, as I mentioned, implementing the new standards. So that may be something that comes up. And then I mentioned term limits because, of course, the school board term limit issue that we saw a couple of years ago is one of those items that would have to be on the ballot and then approved by the population in order to go into effect. They weren't able to put it on the ballot in the last couple of years because of the numbers, but now with that increased Senate seat, that may be something that we see as well. The bill has already been filed, in fact, so we'll see what kind of momentum it gets. And just to give you an idea of the calendar and what we expect, as I mentioned, this is the first week of committees. You can see that we then have one more week in January and 3 weeks consecutively in February for committee meetings. And then session will begin on March 2nd. It is expected to go through April 30th. That would be the 60th day, assuming that they actually finish on time, which does not always happen. But that is what is supposed to happen. And then this is one of those years where we have, this is a regular session, if you will, starting in March, which is what we used to typically always do. But next year, on our even years, we will start session in January of 2022. So the impact of that will be, we will finish session end of April or beginning of May, and then they will likely come back in September to begin committee weeks in anticipation of the next session. And I mention that just because when we talk about ideas coming back, things that die, that then are resurrected once more, it happens in many cases because of this, because we don't have very much of a break at all. So a lot of those ideas will linger. So we will go from our session to having a couple months and then right back into it again. So as always, if you have any questions, of course I'll take questions now, but any questions that you may think of later or have any concerns, please reach out to me. We're happy to help in any way that we can. And we will be sharing, of course, updates during the committee weeks and the session. And then when they start to build the budget, we will have those updates as well.
Thank you, Jessica. Do we have any questions? Ms. Wood?
I would just say one thing that I think
Sure.
all of us are very interested in, the discussions about accountability.
Yes.
And if we could just really be kept up to date on that, and if we're needed to come down to the legislator and talk about what the ramifications would be at our schools if we're trying to slap school grades on top of all the stress and trauma that teachers and students are going through this year. I hope we can be one unified voice, as our LCTA rep asked us to be on this subject specifically, and I just want Jessica to know that I, for one, want to be involved in that as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? If not, yes.
Quick question, Jessica.
Jessica, are you there?
Yes. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Hey, thank you for being here tonight and trying to summarize what we think is going to happen, which of course we know is going to change in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Quick question about this. This comment was raised on the FSBA call last week by Kim McDougall, and the comment was that they were going to urge the legislature to revisit property values. Do you know anything about that, or can speak to that as far as it relates to the fees that are then come to the school district? That some adjustment for the property values on the tax rolls?
Sure.
Okay.
So that is really a ticking time bomb, if you will. Honestly, a number of years ago, they made that change where we can't capture as properties tend to increase in value, and therefore we normally would be able to assess more of a tax. They capped that, saying it was a tax increase. They did go back a year or so after that and allow when there is completely, for example, if there's an empty lot and then it is bulldozed and Publix is put on there, they're able to get that tax. But when it comes to all the other properties, currently we do not see that growth. So obviously that has, over time, continued to hurt our schools because the money that comes in is less. There is a growing acknowledgement of that. That is something that we have talked about with members. And this is another way when we're talking about the budget. That is going back to the previous policy where we were able to capture that growth would be a way to get money for schools without actually passing some other additional kind of tax. So I think that's an argument that we will make, and it's certainly been part of the conversation, particularly on the Senate side.
Do you think there's any appetite to entertain that conversation on the from the legislative side?
I think because we are in more trying fiscal times, there will be more of a reason to have a dialogue, or they will feel more welcome to have a dialogue about that. Because I think there's an acknowledgement they're going to be looking in every area that they can to try to stabilize our budget as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Are you also, Jessica, hearing any conversation about potential revenues generated from sales tax of online purchases and or gaming?
Yes. Thank you. I should have brought that up. Yes. So I do know that the Florida Association of School Administrators has been looking at this issue to support. There have been a number of business groups that have taken on this issue of e-fairness, is what they're calling it, to capture that online sales tax. Because, of course, our Florida businesses are already remitting that tax. So this is really just out-of-state actors that don't have entities here in Florida, which it actually amounts to quite a lot. When they had the bill last year, it was in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they thought that they may be able to actually capture. So that has moved in the Senate in the past. The House has been the body that has killed it previously. But I think that's another one where they're hoping that perhaps supporters of that idea are hoping that because we're in these trying times, this would be an easy way to get money, and it's not even taxing Florida businesses because they're already paying that tax. So I think that'll be a discussion this year, absolutely. And gaming remains an issue. It's always a tricky one. It's one of those where every year they say there's going to be a gaming bill and there seems to be meetings and then it gets halted. But again, not to sound like a broken record, but I do think because fiscally we know there are challenges, that may open the door to more of those types of discussions as well, getting more creative.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. We appreciate your hard work, and thank you for bringing us this information.
I also, Madam Chair, if I could
Yes.
interject, and Jessica, you may be interested to listen. I had a really productive meeting today with Congressman Al Lawson, who called last week and said, I just want to sit down and meet. He wanted to talk about a scholarship program, but then he also made the mistake of saying, how can I help in Washington? So I think we're excited, or I know I personally am excited about some of the education changes that are going to take place at the federal level, although they certainly don't align with our state government and state leaders. There may be an opportunity for school districts throughout the country, public schools especially, to get some relief from the federal government. I know the president-elect has been very vocally opposed to the reckless expansion of charter schools and private school vouchers, and so I'm really encouraged at the federal level of what potentially we could gain from a change in administration, and I guess we'll just wait to see. But the congressman is on the Agriculture Committee, and there's one other committee he was on. I think we could, because we know we're going to have a serious shortfall in our federal reimbursement program with food service. And, we're trying the best we can to get meals out to those children that are in Digital Academy and that are at home. And we're also trying to keep all of our folks employed. But we know I think we've projected between a $2 and $2.5 million shortfall in food service this year. So the federal government really with that subsidy could help us with that, because that would just have to come out of our general fund. So I'm encouraged with that conversation we had with Congressman Lawson, and would also ask others, the members of this board, to reach out not only to folks at the state level, but folks at the federal level for any influence we can have or any enlightenment we can give them as far as the needs of our public school system.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you there? Yes?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you
right.
all.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mrs. Superintendent. We're now ready for the reopening Leon Schools update.
If I may also add, we also received a calendar invite for January 19th for the Leon County delegation meeting as well. If everyone has that on their calendars, that will also be an additional opportunity for us to engage in those same type conversations with our elected legislative leadership. So I thought that, and I think armed with what she has described with us today, that also gives us some conversation I think that is worthwhile to help to inform our legislative delegation. So again, Jessica, great job, and thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm excited about, our local delegation with, now Senator Owsley, Representative Tant. They're, great friends of our traditional public schools and wonderful advocates for our public schools and advocates for early learning and the needs of children with exceptionalities. So I'm excited about their leadership. Although they will be in the minority, those are two strong female voices paired with Representative Alexander and others that have always been friends to our traditional public schools. So I'm excited about their leadership.
Well said.
Yes.
All right, so reopened after the winter break. On Monday, I called my staff, although they weren't were supposed to return to work until Tuesday. On Monday, I called my team in a day early. I wanted them to start getting used to the alarm clock going off again at 6 in the morning, and so I called them in and had a staff meeting to prepare for students returning on Tuesday, January the 5th. We also had our schools open for our teachers, not mandatory, that wanted to go get their classrooms set up because we had a 17-day break, which was good. I think all of us needed time to refresh, catch our breath, say goodbye to 2020, welcome in a new year, and just take some time away from the experience we had during the first several months of the school year. That being said, we know we had a lot of people that traveled and still gathered as family. My mom was insistent. My 80-year-old mother was insistent that we are going to have a Christmas dinner. I'm sorry, son. And so we did, socially distanced, wearing our masks and our PPE. But we anticipated that over the course of the break, while people were in our schools, that we may have an increase in the number of cases or people that tested positive. So it was important for me to get on, and our staff to get on the front end of this equation. And we also called into the Department of Health and COCO and their team to see what things they have noticed, because they never stopped over the break. They continued 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, rain, shine. They're like the postman. They're going to deliver day in and day out. Even on the holidays, even on Christmas, they were doing contact tracing. So I wanted to get a report from them and what they saw, what trends they saw, and any advice they could give us as our students returned on January the 5th. And so it was reported in the media and others that we had 246 total cases of students and employees who either tested positive for COVID over those 17 days or were in close proximity and in quarantine status by being around someone who tested positive. Of those, 85 were students over that 7-day period. 85 students tested positive, but they had not been in our schools for two and a half weeks. Now, some folks, I guess, thought that we should update the dashboard during that entire time over the break. The intent, as far as I was concerned, of the dashboard was to constantly monitor and inform the community, especially the stakeholders at individual schools, of cases and students and employees that are actively on those sites so that they can make decisions that best fit the needs of their family. So, but we have never been on the dashboard included students that were in Digital Academy. And during the time that we break, because no one was exposed to a student who tested positive, we had not been including those students either. Mm-hmm. So when we came back on the 5th, we picked up right where we left off. When I asked the Department of Health, do you see any need for changes or things that we've done? They said, no, we just think you need to stick to the Safe School Plan. And in their opinion, quite honestly, our people were actually safer in school than they were at home with a lot of the activities that had gone on and a lot of the traveling that happened and a lot of the, that they hadn't seen the spread in our schools. It was more in the family gatherings and the outings and the traveling outside of our school system. So they just said, look, we know the numbers across the country have increased. We know the numbers in the state of Florida have increased. We know the numbers even here in Leon County have increased. However, as far as our schools are concerned, we think you have done an outstanding job of sticking to the plan that we developed, that we worked very hard and diligently to develop over the course of the summer. So we have done just that. Now, I made a decision once we returned. I keep getting these emails, and I'll use Childs High School as an example. So the protocol had been anytime a principal was notified of a positive case on their campus and that there were potential exposures, whether it's from an employee or a student, we would send out a listserv to the school community. And what was happening was a school like Childs, who has a number of their students, say 70% of those kids are physically in the school and only 30% are at home. Mm-hmm. So we're social distancing, but we may not be getting the 6 feet that that's optimal. So Principal Burgess would send out a listserv at 7:45 in the morning, and then he'd be notified of another case at 9:15, and then he'd be notified of a third case at 12:30, and then he'd be notified potentially of a fourth case at 2:30, and then maybe at night. So he'd send out 4 listservs during the course of the day, which occupies a lot of time. And then maybe at 7 or 8 at night, 2 other cases would pop in. Well, those listservs wouldn't go out because they were after hours, but they would show up the next morning on the dashboard. So people would say, well, wait a minute. I got 4 listservs from Principal Burgess, but today on the dashboard it says there were 6 students at Childs. What's going on? Why aren't y'all, what are you hiding? What are you doing? I was like, no, that happened after hours. So in my mind, it was easier for us to adjust by sending out one listserv if a student, one or more students tested positive at the end of the day, and then the next morning posting the number on the dashboard, right? That was my solution to the problem. Well, some people have taken exceptions to that solution. And if you look at a lot of the public comment or some of the comment of those, it was basically wrapped around that. So I've now made the decision that we will go back to sending out multiple listservs, but also put in there any cases that pop up after hours, 9 at night, 10 at night, midnight. Obviously, there wouldn't be a listserv sent, so the number may of those students would be reflected the next day. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Y'all understand what I'm saying here? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we will go back to sending out multiple listservs. I don't want anybody, because we've said from the beginning, we have nothing to hide. We have absolutely nothing to hide and a lot to be proud of. And to the point, not only do they get a listserv, every student in that class gets a second letter that says someone in the class has tested positive. Mm-hmm. If any action is necessary, you will be notified directly by the Leon County Department of Health. So they get a listserv to the community. Everyone in a class gets a separate letter. And then if there's any action that needs to be taken or quarantine, they will have a third point of contact from the Leon County Health Department. So that's what we're back to. All right. So anybody that says that we're not being transparent, we have things to hide, and Coco's on here, and we're tied at the hip still with the Department of Health and everything that's going on. So on that front, I think we've done a really good job. You saw where we had kids back on the fields of play. We're starting back safely and cautiously with some band and choral activities, some performing arts activities, but still being very mindful of what's going on here locally. And guys, we've said this from the beginning too. If we need to adjust, we are positioned now to do it in the blink of an eye. And I am concerned, as I know many of you all, about the rising cases in the country, in the state, and right here in our county, and the number of hospitalizations. But I can assure you that Dr. Cox, Terry, all of us eat, sleep, and breathe this 24/7. And we are in our position still with that group of people that Dr. Cox consults with from Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. I had a conversation with Mark O'Brien today, to Capital Regional Medical Center, to the Department of Health, that we are monitoring what's going on in our community, and more importantly, and specifically to us, in every school, in every classroom, every day. And we'll continue to do that. And if we need to adjust, and that the recommendations come from the Department of Health, and the recommendations come from folks in the healthcare business, then we will certainly make those adjustments. I have some really positive news. So I had a Zoom call with the mayor, city commission. I applaud the mayor for pulling this group together, because a month ago I had the question, when the vaccines come out, who's in charge? Who is going to be the keeper of the vaccines? Mm-hmm. That was, at the local level. We knew that the governor was going to be the one that was going to prioritize. And we all have advocated that folks in our business, the teachers, the bus drivers, the people that are in close proximity to children that are coming to school every day with germs, including COVID potentially, should be moved to the top of the list. And we will continue to advocate for that. The governor has prioritized people aged 65 or older in the state of Florida, and healthcare workers. All right, I understand that. In that conversation yesterday, or 2 days ago, was also President Thrasher from Florida State, President Robinson from Florida A&M, and come to find out, Florida State had been given some vaccines, Florida A&M had been given some vaccines. I saw where a local church had been given some vaccines, but Leon County had received no vaccines. We hadn't received any. Well, needless to say, I was a bit disappointed in that, to say the least. So I advocated on behalf of our employees who are age 65 or older, who me are at great risk, to get our turn in line. I'm all about playing by the rules and following rules. But by gosh, if we can do the universities, distribute to some universities and to a local church and to, we were doing dental hygienists, and nothing against dental hygienists. I love my dental hygienist. Please be gentle on me the next time I come, Dr. Phillips. But our teachers and our employees need to move up on the list, right? Yeah. And so now we've received news from the Department of Health, and thank you, Claudia, thank you, Holly, thank you, Coco, that all Leon County Schools employees 65 or older on Saturday will have an opportunity to get vaccinated, which is very exciting.
Ooh, now that's wonderful.
Now, I've also been strongly advocating on behalf of those individuals that asked for ADA accommodations back when this whole thing started over the course of the summer. And we have about 90 of those individuals. And I am fighting tooth and nail to make them next. And I have a call into CHP. I'm working. Now, some of these people, though, have been working with their primary physician, with their private providers to get this on their own. But in addition, we will continue to fight, continue to advocate to move those people up, to move our teachers up, and again, those folks that are in day-to-day contact, daily contact with students who come to school with different things. All right, so with that, I'm going to let Dr. Cox, if you'll jump in here and introduce your people, give them a brief update, and then we'll take any questions.
Okay, great. Let me adjust this thing. Hey, while we're on the vaccines, I do have Terry Anderson, our director or coordinator of health services. And then I have a couple of other speakers that I want to kind of make a presentation to. But Terry is I'm going to slide. She's sitting here across the table. And I just wanted to give you a couple of the logistics on how we're going to do the vaccinations Saturday. It's right around the corner here, and that's what we spent all day on. So, Terry?
Get adjusted here. Hi, everybody. Okay, so today was a good day because today we were able to identify all of our Leon County School employees 65 or older, all of our COVID monitors, in those folks working in our COVID-19 rooms, and all of our school health assistants, the opportunity to get a vaccination for COVID on Saturday at the health department. So in order to do this, we had to first identify who our population is that's over 65 that could qualify. So we got a list of all of those folks, and then we had a quick Zoom meeting with our principals and sent them the list, and they had to go and ask each employee in their jurisdiction whether or not they wanted to receive the vaccine. Interestingly enough, quite a few, I'd say maybe 15-20% had already gotten the vaccine, which was great. A lot of the others, or a few others, had already had COVID, so they were kind of pushed to the back, and we don't know how many just didn't want to get it, but we have going on Saturday right now about 160 individuals for including all of our over 65 and older population, transportation, nutrition services, teachers, everyone in that population. So it was a good day. We're looking forward to coordinating more lists together as we have access to more vaccines, and we appreciate our partnership with the health department. I'll give it back to you, Dr. Cox.
Okay, thank you, Terry. We are, let's see, Coco and I have a presentation with some interesting information. Before I go there, going back to the reporting of information, the dashboard, Chris Petley, you out there?
Alan, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Yeah.
Miss Coffee, can you get my video back on, please? Oh, there we go.
Okay.
No, turn it off. Turn it off.
So I just wanted to give you just a little bit about the dashboard specifically and how we're reporting. The superintendent pretty much took a lot of that talking points and really reporting to y'all on how that's going to look. But in the kind of minutia of it all, I just want to reaffirm every morning, beginning after Thanksgiving, we shifted to reporting to the community the number of COVID positive cases. We used to do it the day of, but like the superintendent was saying, we were not capturing those cases that were coming in at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. So what we did is we moved to reporting the day after. So we'll get information on Tuesday that is from Monday. We'll get information on Wednesday that is from Tuesday. That way we have all of those concrete numbers. So we also learned that following breaks and days off, that there is a little bit of hiccup in some of the accuracy there, because the Department of Health, they get information from all sorts of places, and it just takes us a couple of days to kind of catch up on that. So every day around 9 o'clock, I get an email from the Department of Health from Susan. She sends it to myself, Alan, and Terry. I take that information, the numbers directly from the Department of Health. I send it out to those schools that are on that list. And I just want to confirm with those principals to make sure that they know that there are positive cases reported from the Department of Health, to see if they have any other information. And then throughout the morning, I will update the dashboard. Now, it's important to realize, this is not the only thing that I'm doing during the day. But I'm also updating in 3 different locations. And I hear back from principals at various times during the day. So in a perfect world, on our website, we have the times listed when the dashboard is updated. In a perfect world, it would all be right there in front of folks. But again, this is happening in real time, and it's happening throughout the day. So, Dr. Cox and Terry and I, we talk about, unfortunately, at some point during the day, that information is not going to be as accurate as maybe the listservs that's gone out, but we are not hiding anything. It's just I think what's happening is there's a little bit of a delay in how it gets reported. But when a school has a positive case and they're sending out that email, they're letting folks know, and then that'll get onto our dashboard within those couple hours. But there's a lot of things going on during the day that we are trying to gather that information. We're trying to confirm the accuracy. We're trying to ensure. It's a lot to ask our health department, believe it or not, to identify whether or not the student is in Digital Academy, or they're on campus, or where they are. So that's why we really are depending on our principals to confirm that, because we want this information to be accurate. We are as transparent as possible, and I update that as throughout the day. The screens stay open on my computer all day. I'm texting, I'm calling, I'm checking in with principals. For example, today, the information from the health department came back that there were 2 positive students at Gilchrist. So I sent that over to the person in charge of that at Gilchrist, and she actually confirmed to me that there's 3. So, we have nothing to hide. We are putting every bit of information that we have up there for the community to see. We still remain one of about only 30 or so school districts out of 67 in the entire state that is operating a dashboard to this level. So we're committed to providing this information to our community, and we'll continue to get better. You see, we come up with solutions. If it doesn't work, we shift, but we'll continue to evolve throughout this process.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, moving on. Coco's out there now, and we're going to present some numbers. I'm always interested to look and see what's happening in the state and in our county, not Leon County Schools, but the county as a whole, and then our schools. So, Coco, if you can take it away now.
Yeah, I sure can. And I just wanted to tag on a little bit about what Chris was saying and kind of give people an example that might help to understand it a little bit better with the dashboard. If we had someone that ended up testing positive over the break, toward the end of the break, and then they notify us when school comes back, they may drop off the next day off the dashboard. They're no longer considered contagious. They're no longer positive. So that dashboard is also representing people that may be on for a very short amount of time, and then they're going to be cleared off. So it is a fluid situation. It's a snapshot in time with the information that we have. But just to kind of explain that, I know people have kind of asked, how does it work? So it just kind of lets you all know that information as well. Sometimes that's what it is. It's when someone tested positive, when we found out that information, and when it was reported to us. So just wanted to piggyback on that before I got into some numbers for everybody. So people at the State Department of Health office basically report to us, and I get copies of that 3 times a week, with our numbers. What does the state look like? And they break it down by counties. So I have some information here pertaining to Leon County, and I also pulled some more information related to our pediatric cases, what we are looking at in the under 18 age category. So first of all, I want to talk about where we are in overall positivity rates in Florida. This is across the board, all ages. So in Florida currently, and this was certified as of this morning, our positivity rate is 10.62%. In Leon County, certified this morning, our positivity rate is 8.04%. So we are, over 2% below the state, which means we're doing some good things. We're seeing some positive things holding into that. And this is coming out after the holidays as well. With our pediatric cases, we're looking at some different things here. So in Leon County, our positivity, and this is going to be 5 through 17-year-olds, okay? 11.5% positivity just within that age group, okay? And overall for the state, just within that age group, so this is overall state of Florida, 13.8%. So again, we are below the state average, which means because of what our community in the schools, since that's going to be the 5 to 17-year-olds, what the parents are doing, what the schools are doing, what the teachers are doing, it's working in the sense it's keeping our numbers lower. So that's a real positive, very, very positive thing. The other thing that I was going to talk about here is just basically about our process. We knew this was going to our numbers were going to go up. We can look at the testing, the amount of testing that occurred from the time we got out from the school break. People were testing before they went to their grandparents, before family members came to their house. So we had an exorbitant amount of testing that occurred over that 2.5 time period when we were out of school. So those numbers were going up with testing. We anticipated, because more people were testing, there were going to be more positivity coming in that. So if we had taken this back, say further into October, where there weren't things going on, this is relative to the larger numbers going up with testing, that we're going to have more positive cases. This wasn't expected. We also feel that we're not seeing this happening. Our outbreaks and our numbers are not occurring in the school setting. When there are issues, and we're doing all the contract tracing, and I want to echo what Dr. Cox said. We had a team of people. I have people that worked 8 hours on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. I'm sorry for the people they had to contact, but just so that you all know, we did not take a break. We were still contacting people because we had to get that information out to them as quickly as possible, so things wouldn't be spread. So we were still working with people. But because of that, hopefully what we're hoping is we're coming into, by the end of this week, it will have been 2 weeks since the break. And we should start seeing our numbers going down, because the people that were positive, the people that were testing, they were all around each other over the holidays, other family members and things like that. We should start to see those numbers go down because people are over that period. And hopefully that will make a difference as well. So I just kind of wanted to report to that, and also speak to the fact that we did meet before. I would encourage everybody to just let's hold tight on the line. We are making a difference. I've worked 3 vaccine clinics, and I can't tell everybody what a bright spot that was. People were so thankful, and I think everybody that is a part of that is also feeling like there's light at the end of the tunnel. We are getting there. This is slowly coming down the line. We wish it would be a little bit faster, but it's working. And we're getting some light at the end of the tunnel. So we are hopeful that things are going to continue to roll ahead. We stay the course. We do all the same things that we've been doing. Again, with parents, if your children have symptoms, this is not the year to try and push through. Can you make it, can you make it a little bit? If you have symptoms of anything COVID related, stay home. See if you do better, give them, if they have a fever, they've got to be out that 3 days. So we want to just make sure everybody continues to do their part, because it's making a difference.
Some of you also, thank you, Coco. Some of you also received some email correspondence from some concerned individuals at one of the elementary schools. And we were assured by Coco, did you do the contact tracing in that case yourself, Coco?
I did it a second time. I went back and tracked through all of the original investigations.
Right, and look, Dr. Cox, how many classrooms have we closed down since the beginning of this, 6 or 7, or?
Yes, and they've been pre-K and kindergartens where we could not verify the social distancing. So about 6 or 7.
Right.
total.
So we're not scared to shut a class down. And if Coco says y'all need to shut this class down for a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, we're going to do exactly what they tell us to do. I promise you guys that. So people that are misrepresenting some of the facts and some of the things that happen, they're being disingenuous. And I can assure you, we talk to. I don't know how many times a day you talk to them, Alan. It's got to be 3 or 4, 10 times a day. You talk to Coco, Holly, Claudia, somebody.
Yeah. All every day, all during the break, right? Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else?
Just Coco, do you have anything else?
No, those were the things I wanted to touch on for right now.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Strickland.
If I might just take a minute to thank all of you guys that just appeared on the screen. You guys all had jobs before this ever happened, and now you've absorbed this, and your explanations tonight were really, really appreciated because we don't see what all's going on behind the scenes, and neither does our public. But when you explain, we don't expect our administrators to send out listservs at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and then the catching up with the numbers. And I'm so thankful and appreciative to be part of this district and to be on your team, because I'm grateful that we have kids in school. I really am. I think the damage that could be done keeping everyone at home is so much greater than their exposure is in the classroom. And I'm so thankful to hear the information about our rates in Leon County being that much lower than in the state. And I thank you, Chris Petley, for doing your day has completely changed, and yet a smile is on your face every time you appear. And I like seeing you on the TV. I don't care what superintendent says. I think you're adorable. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for everything. Just truly appreciate you guys for all that you're doing every day. Really, honestly. Thank you.
Great.
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Woods, yes.
You said most of what I wanted to say. Thank you, Ms. Strickland,
she did.
and probably for the rest of us. The health department has done an amazing job and continues to. I mean,
Yes, they do.
the fact that they've done all this tracing, and now they're doing the vaccines as well with, not that much direction from the top, but you have figured it out. And I think the whole community really owes you a debt of gratitude. People, I don't even think, understood what public health was before this pandemic and how important it is. And I hope we're going to see the budgets of public health increased on a national and state level, because I know your budgets have been cut and underappreciated. And I think now is the moment where we all understand how vital you are to the health of our community. And, we understand that people on the front line, especially our teachers who have classrooms of kids every day, it's hard out there. And I don't think we can say thank you enough, but the fact that you're on top of this to help keep them safe is probably the most important thing to us right now, to everyone here. And thank you for what you're doing. And I think the superintendent has reassured whoever is questioning anything about the validity of our data that we are doing the best we can. It's a hard job to keep it up minute by minute, but we are trying. We're not trying to hide anything. And so folks who want to accuse us of that, I think, don't have the facts, or else they just want to complain. I'm not sure which. But thank you, Superintendent, Dr. Cox, all of you who are working so hard on this. And the question about clusters, I think that's been asked, and I think that's what you just answered, Superintendent. If there is a cluster in a classroom, then that classroom will be closed down. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and that's what I said to Dr. Cox. We're not afraid to do it. Our kids have their Chromebooks, they take their devices, they remote in. So we've done it 6 or 7 times already, and we'll continue to monitor again every class at every school every day. And again, we have nothing to hide. I'm proud of our efforts. I echo what they said, Coco, to you and your team. God bless you. You just. Thank you for Saturday. Thank you for everything you've done. And I failed to mention, so not only everyone 65 and above, but all of our clinic personnel, all of our clinic aides, all of our people working in our COVID rooms at the schools will also be vaccinated this Saturday. And again, echo the big thank you to the health department.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We appreciate all you do, and the way you stand up for this system is exactly what we expect, and you continue to fight for what is good for Team Leon. And so we are certain that you will continue to be transparent in the sharing of information. And thank you to the ones who made the presentation tonight. My colleagues have spoken. We could not do what we do without you. Safety continues to be our first priority. And I think we're doing some things right. Some people would like to perhaps stir in some information without being fully aware. But I think the information that you are sharing and you're placing it in a space and place that all of the public can have access to it. So we thank you for that. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, thanks, guys. Get some dinner. Appreciate you.
all.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, adorable Chris. Okay.
I'm telling that.
All
That
right.
was nice.
We're doing some nice things tonight, and we have sweets. We're ready now for items of consent. Is there a motion?
Move all items of consent.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. It passes unanimously. Item 19.01. Is there a speaker about this item? If not, is there a motion?
Approval.
Move for accept.
It's been moved by Strickland, second by Jones. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it passes unanimously. Item 19.02,
Move acceptance.
moved by Jones.
Second.
Questions, comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers? It passes unanimously. Moving right along to item 19.03,
I move acceptance.
moved by Jones.
Second.
Questions, second by Woods.
Yes, with just a comment afterwards that we did discuss this yesterday and look forward to seeing a threshold come back to us. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposers? The same. It passes unanimously. Item 1904,
Acceptance.
moved by Jones.
Second.
Second by Woods. Questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Passes unanimously. 1905,
Move acceptance.
Second.
second by Woods. Offered by Jones. All in favor, unless there's a question? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposes the same. It passes unanimously. 1906, nominate school board member.
I move acceptance.
Second.
Second by Woods. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. May I quickly just say, in regards to this, I just need to thank Board Member Strickland for having volunteered some 18 months or so to be a part of this Children's Services Council, even before it became the law of the land of Leon County Schools. I want to thank you for the hard work and the attendance and the attention that you pay to the details and to know how important this is to the community. And I certainly do know and feel that I continue to be confident in the perspective that you bring with the unique understanding of what is required and the obstacles that are going to be found in these communities and these schools that you're going to be serving. So I thank you for the hard work that you will do. I look forward to the reports that you will bring to us, and I can tell from your eyes that you're smiling, and that's a good thing. So thank you. This is good work that we do. And the final thing about that, to me, it's important to show our diversity of thought, compassion, and caring in this. So I need to say that to you and put it on the record, ma'am.
Thank
Okay?
you, Madam Chair. That just makes my heart happy, and thank you
I
to
can
the
tell.
board for putting me, appointing
Yep.
me to this council. Any one of us would have been an excellent member,
Absolutely.
and I am truly, truly honored to be chosen by you guys. And you can ask Superintendent Dr. DeGale. I did not miss one single planning committee meeting. I was there every time. This is something that we all know exists. The gap
Exactly.
before the kids get to us. What can we do to change it? And I hope that this is it. And I am just honored to be a part of this. So thank you,
And
guys.
we're honored to have you take that kind of energy, enthusiasm, compassion, and passion and get the job done.
It will be there.
For all of the children.
It will be there.
Yay! Okay, now, Opal wants me to calm down. Did we just vote to approve her? We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we are now at Where are we?
Item 21.
Item 21.
Well, item 20 is information items.
Yeah, all of these are information items unless there are further 21, 22, 23.
22.
22.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Tenants comment.
All right, very briefly, was just passed a note that Leadership Tallahassee Class 38. Do you have a hashtag yet, or? Freshest class ever. Oh my gosh.
What happened?
You were what? LT what?
LT 20.
And did y'all have a?
We were the greatest class ever and the founder of YLT.
34, best class. We were generic like everybody else. 30, best class ever.
31, hashtag follow this. All right, so thank you, LT Class 38, for joining us tonight. That's an hour and a half of your life that you will never get back. And then finally, I had the honor, I'm going to probably steal some of his thunder today. Roll the video, Denver, of visiting R. Frank Mims Middle School, where we cut the ribbon on brand new law academy, a pre-law academy. I just want to thank Ryan Peck for all the folks in our maintenance department. It's absolutely beautiful. So I would encourage all of you to go by and visit the new law academy there at Mims Middle School. A lot of that, the bench and everything was donated by Parks and Crump Law Firm here locally. So big thank you to Mr. Parks and Mr. Crump for their donation. Had a lot of dignitaries, had the state attorney there, a lot of other attorneys.
Wonderful.
As you can see, Mr. Parks speaking there, and just it was a wonderful moment. And this was Dr. Bolden's dream to have something, to have a hook there at Mims. And the kids are beyond excited about the opportunities they will have to learn about our legal system, about learn about justice, social justice, and about our government. So kudos to Dr. Bolden and everyone involved with creating the program there at Mims Middle School.
Absolutely, that's outstanding. Dr. Bolden is a good man, good man. Good work, Mr. Superintendent, good work.
As
Mr.
is
Jones.
everyone in District 3.
Oh my goodness, but of course they, okay, is there other business to come before this board tonight? All minds clear? Then I move we rise
Thank you.
and leave.